Welcome everybody, Brother Dan Goodwin here, God's Final Jubilee program. Here we are in the midst of turmoil in our country again. Pray for America, pray for your leaders, pray for your congressmen, pray for Donald Trump, pray for America, pray for your family. America is in serious trouble. If you didn't watch my program Sunday night, just a few days ago, 3 days ago, go back to the last program on YouTube and watch that. It's just 22 minutes long. I talked about a little bit about what's going on, but it's gotten worse since then. And I'm going to share with you tonight some terrible things going on in our country and our government. If you haven't figured it out yet, our government is corrupt. But let me read you a couple of verses here before we get started that I think will tie in to what's going on. I think will help you tonight. Romans 13 says, "Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. For there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whoso therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of men. For he is the minister," and let's talk about these government leaders here, "for he is the minister or the servant of God, to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil." You know, the Bible says that God puts kings and rulers in office. That's true. That's right. And welcome to the God's Final Jubilee program. This is October the 25th, Wednesday night. And I'm just going to try to help you tonight with what's going on. God puts rulers in office. The book of Daniel is very plain about that. And I'm going to, on another program in the near future, maybe the next one, I'm going to share some things about what I believe Daniel has to tell us about what's going on right now in America. Some very interesting things. But let me read you another verse about kings and these men who are given power, who are placed in office, who are overseers of people. Let me read you a verse in Proverbs chapter 14. Listen as I read verse 34. And you know this verse probably. "Righteousness exalteth a nation. Righteousness exalteth a nation. However, but sin is a reproach to any people." Is America a righteous nation tonight? I'm telling you, our nation is corrupt. To the core. Now, there's some good men in leadership. There's some good men in Washington, but not many. And I'm telling you, the reason that some of this stuff is just coming out now is because even some of our so-called Republican conservatives in office are part of the swamp and are guilty. And let me read another verse for you. I'm going to turn the page, Proverbs chapter 16, beginning of verse 10. "A divine sentence is in the lips of the king." See, the Bible has a lot to say about. Now, when he mentions a king, it's not always a king like in King David or King Saul. Sometimes you can apply that to a president, a prime minister, or whatever, a leader, government leaders that God puts in office. "A divine sentence is in the lips of the king. His mouth transgresseth not in judgment. A just weight and balance are the Lord's. All the weights of the bag are his work." Now listen to this verse, verse 12. "It is an abomination to kings or prime ministers or presidents, government political leaders. It is an abomination to kings to commit wickedness, for the throne is established by righteousness." And there's more that I could read you there, but we're going to stop right there. On Sunday night, I shared some new developments going on in our government and in this supposed Russiagate thing, this Russia collusion thing, as they call it. They've been investigating Donald Trump for months and months and months. There are at least 16 lawyers working with Mr. Mueller, however you pronounce his name. At least 16 lawyers being paid to try to uncover some dirt on Mr. Trump and his campaign. Supposedly, they think that he was involved with the Russian government to try to overthrow an election, and so those are serious things. And of course, there's not a shred of evidence. Has never been a shred of evidence. In fact, even the Democrats have had to admit that there's no evidence that there's collusion or that there's anything going on. And so what's it all about? It's all about a thing that they call a dossier. D-O-S-S-I-E-R. They pronounce this thing a dossier or dossier, however you want to pronounce it. This thing came out, I think, a year ago, before the election. And this thing, now we're finding out that this thing, what they're saying is this dossier had evidence that there was collusion between the Russian government and Donald Trump and his campaign. Now we are just finding out that this dossier was in fact false. And they have found out where and by the way, Washington Times, I'm going to read you some stories in a minute here. Washington Times, The Hill, I mean, places that are not conservative news places are putting out these stories that I'm going to read for you in just a minute here. If I can get my laptop to cooperate with me here. Let me just read a few headlines for you. Just some headlines that are on the internet here tonight. I'm waiting for it to come up. Here we go. Let's see. Having internet problems here, I guess. Russia script flipped on Democrats. In other words, now the evidence is not pointing to Donald Trump anymore. It's pointing towards Hillary Clinton. Top Hillary lawyer lied for 1 year about the dossier. Pressure builds on Mueller to recuse himself. Let's see. I can't seem to get that to refresh. So let me go back over here and go down here and find my stories. And we'll refresh this page, see what happens. Don't you just love the internet, computers, and you know, books don't let you down. You open up a book and that page is there, right? But internet, having some problems here with getting this to come up. So bear with me. Sorry about that. All right. I don't know why I can't get anywhere. The old devil, I guess. Here we go. Come on. All right. So let me scroll down and find some of these stories for you that I have posted all over the Facebook page. I am not happy with my internet problem here. All right. Let's see. Okay, let me scroll on down. It's coming up now. And let me get down here and just start reading you some of these stories. If you haven't watched my Facebook page, go to my Facebook page, God's Found You Believe Facebook page. I posted all these stories. I posted some short videos that I want you to watch some of these. I want you to see what's going on in our country and the treason that's been committed that needs to be investigated, and people need to be sent to jail. All right, now the Democrats have a Russia problem. I posted that yesterday. Clinton pushes back on Russian uranium deal reports, calls it baloney, because the Democrats and Hillary, who was the Secretary of State at the time, and her husband Bill, went over to Russia, gave a speech for $500,000, $500,000. He gave a speech and was paid money for it, and also met with Mr. Putin and other Russian officials, and shortly thereafter sent they have found out that money went through Canada to go to the Clinton Foundation, millions of dollars. They've discovered that there was no record of it until they checked the records in Canada and they found this money. So this is bad news for Mrs. Clinton and the DNC and all these people who are trying to pin something on Donald Trump. A lot of money came from Russia. It did not go to Donald Trump. It went to the Hillary Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Foundation. And also they sold 20% of America's uranium to Russia. Now this is stuff that we knew a long time ago, but this is stuff that's just now making it out here and getting into news and being looked at now all of a sudden. So what they're finding is the collusion is not with Donald Trump at all. It's with Hillary Clinton and the Clinton administration. A whole bunch of things coming out. Now they realize now that the FBI director, Mr. Comey, that they found the records that he had already signed off on Hillary, decided that she was innocent and not to bring charges before her and her people were even questioned. Now that's just unbelievable. And by the way, they're getting ready to call him back into Congress. Trey Gowdy is going to bring in Mr. Comey and others, and they're reopening these things. I say reopening; they never closed, but they are now going to ask some serious questions here, and it looks bad. It looks bad for the Democrats. So I spoke about in my last program. Dan Goodwin speaks about the real Russia story. I shared some of this already, and I mentioned that. On election night, I was on hold to go on the Hagman program. I was going to tell his listeners that Donald Trump would win in a landslide, and he did. And I was also going to mention, and have mentioned many times, that the reason this is so serious, the election this year was so serious, is because people were going to go to jail if the Democrats lost. And you might be asking, why did they do all these illegal things? Why did Hillary use an illegal, a non-secure email server? Why did they not care? Why did all this stuff happen? Why did they, why this money laundering with Russia and the Clinton Foundation? And I'll tell you why. Because they did not believe they could lose this election. They had this thing in the bag. I mean, all the mainstream news had Trump losing by a landslide. I knew he was going to win. I was certain of it. They just couldn't believe it, and they still can't believe it. And that's why now they're still going after him, trying to destroy Mr. Trump. Because, my friend, do you realize what's at stake here? These are treasonous things that have happened. Do you understand what happened here? They spent millions of dollars. Now, we don't even know for sure who started this. It's believed that a Republican started this. Now, Donald Trump, I heard him today. He says he thinks he knows who it was, but he's not going to say yet. He said it will come out. Now, I think they're going to find that it may have been John McCain, but we'll have to wait and see. John McCain hates Donald Trump. John McCain is no conservative. And he's not a friend. He's part of the swamp in Washington, D.C. So, renewed interest in the so-called Uranium One deal, as they're calling it, came after the Hill reported last week the FBI had gathered solid evidence that Russian nuclear industry officials were engaged in bribery and extortion before the Obama administration approved the sale of Russia to a company that controls 20% of America's uranium. The Clintons got wealthy off of that. All right, let's see. We got another story here. Now Democrats have a Russian problem. Lefty cheers for Robert Mueller's investigation into Russia meddling in U.S. politics may soon fade now. Now that he's reportedly looking into a top Democratic lobbyist. And that's the Podestas. They're involved in this. They're involved in this dossier. And by the way, the dossier came from Russia. And it's fake news, and the Clintons and others paid money for this, and they lied about it. They've lied for a year about being involved in this, and now the truth is out that the DNC and Hillary Clinton's campaign paid for this and promoted this dossier. Now, let me explain what this dossier is. It's stuff that's trying to link Donald Trump with Russia, and it's not true. And by the way, it goes further. This dossier was given to the FBI. I believe I'm right about this. I believe that this is already out there, that John McCain is the one who handed this to Mr. Comey. And Mr. Comey was going to continue to pay money to the people, our tax dollars, by the way. Mr. Comey was going to, did pay some money to keep this investigation going with Russia, this dossier. Unbelievable, isn't it? And it's because of this dossier that some names were unmasked and some people were investigated, and Donald Trump and some of his campaign people had their phones tapped. Why? Because of a fake news, a fake Russia story. That Comey, either willingly or unwillingly, fell into this trap. This is huge, my friend. This is huge. The corruption that has happened here. You understand what I'm saying here? This dossier is filled with fake information from Russia against Donald Trump. It's fake. It's not real. There's no evidence. The Republican primary people, possibly maybe the Bush family, I don't know, maybe John McCain, they started this dossier to get Donald Trump out of the primary. See, the Republicans are rotten too. They started this, and then the Democrats got it, either through John McCain or the Bush family. You know, it'll come out if someone don't die first. And so this dossier gets into the hands of the FBI, and they're treating it like it's real, and they're actually giving money to the guy who has this thing, and getting him to do more investigative work, and all this stuff. The investigation, and by the way, the fact that Mueller is independent counsel and his 16 wacky lawyers that are working to find evidence against Trump, all of that came as a result of this fake dossier. You see how serious this is? And the Democrats promoted this thing, promoted a lie, and they lied about doing it for a year. In fact, the millions of dollars they spent on getting this out there was lied about. And now that's all coming out. So let me read you that headline. I'll get, let's see. House GOP chairman announced probe of Obama's Justice Department. That just came out. In fact, I posted that yesterday. The Republican chairman of 2 House committees announced Tuesday they're opening an investigation into actions the Obama administration Justice Department took during last year's presidential election. That's about the fact that the FBI director Comey decided not to bring charges against Hillary before he had even investigated her and the others. I mean, made his decision. They got proof of that now. And the tarmac of Attorney General Lynch and Bill Clinton, just a few days before Comey comes out with his announcement, they're at the tarmac having a meeting, talking about their grandchildren, remember? Big lie. That was totally under the table stuff right there. And they're gonna bring her back in. And see, this is all coming out now. And you say, well, this was bound to come out. Why did they not cover their bases? Because they did not believe there was a chance that Donald Trump could win this election. They didn't think there was any reason to worry about any of this. Well, Donald Trump won the election. Now you understand why there's so much going on against Donald Trump in the last 8 months. Because there are people in high positions that are going to go to jail for treason. And that's why this is so serious. And I talked about this before the election. There'll be people go to jail if Donald Trump gets elected. All right, the real Russia story. Here we go. I posted a thing here, to the tipping point. It's on the Facebook page. Make sure you read that. The biggest scandal of the Obama presidency. They're all in on this. This fake news Russia dossier thing, they're all in on it. Obama, Hillary, Bill, Attorney General Lynch, FBI Director Comey, they all are either in on it, or they've been bribed, or they've been threatened. I don't know which, but let's see, here's another, Sean Hannity. I posted him also. Yesterday I posted him. The Democrats, they all lied to you over a year. I post powerful segment of his monologue on the Facebook page. Make sure you go watch that. Then we got this. We got Lou Dobbs. I posted that on here. Lou Dobbs makes my point at the end that I've been saying. The tide is turning. And he has a great interview with somebody on here. And make sure you watch that. Very interesting. Let's see. With all the uranium, Hillary, Russia stuff in the news, be sure to watch the 23-minute video from last time. That's there. All right, a year of Clinton lies about the Golden Showers dossier exposed. A Hillary Clinton campaign lawyer who launched what would become known as the anti-Trump dirty dossier denied involvement for a year as reporters tried to get information. Mark Elias brokered a deal between the Clinton camp, the Democratic National Committee, and opposition research firm Fusion GPS to dig up dirt on the president while he was running for office. And see, that's what they've accused Donald Trump of doing. They're the ones that did it. This is huge, my friends. All right, here's another one. After Trump dossier revelation, FBI is next. This is from the Washington Examiner. You can go and read that. I'll go ahead and click on it here for you and just try to read you just a line or two of it, what that says. This is from the Washington Examiner. This is Wednesday, today. This came out. Investigators looking into the so-called Trump dossier were not surprised when news broke Tuesday night that the Hillary campaign, the Hillary campaign and the DNC, working through the Democrats' law firm Perkins, financed the salacious and unverified compilation of allegations of Trump collusion with Russia. Did you catch what that says? Let me read that again. Investigators looking into the Trump dossier were not surprised when news broke Tuesday night that the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, working through Democrats' law firm called Perkins Cole, actually financed this thing. They're calling it a salacious and unverified compilation of allegations of Trump collusion with Russia in the 2006 campaign. And along with, they mentioned James Comey here. There have been plenty of talk about the Democrats and the law firm, so much that investigators almost assumed that this was the case, but it wasn't until the Washington Post broke the story that it was confirmed. I'm shocked, one lawmaker joked Tuesday night. Who would have ever guessed? So, whole story here I could read you, but I won't take any more time to read. You can go on my Facebook page and read that. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Another story that I posted here. If you're tired of, if you're tired of these news stories, I'm sorry, but the truth is finally coming out. The truth that many of us already knew, and I'm going to help propagate that truth. Fusion GPS, now that's the company that was hired to do this. Fusion GPS, a lot of confusing things I realize. The law firm, Perkins law firm, the DNC, Hillary Clinton, the campaign. But this Fusion GPS is the company that actually wrote up this dossier that was circulated and eventually got to the FBI. And it's fake. It's all a big lie. And this is all coming out. Let's see. Let me click on this one for you. And just this is from Fox News, I think. Let me see here. But this, here's what they said. Fusion GPS followed. DNC, Clinton, FBI take heat after bombshell that Democrats funded the Trump dossier. I want to point out again, they didn't start it. The Republicans in the primary, one of the Republicans or several of them in the primary started this thing. Before the primary was over, when it was not yet decided who was going to run as the Republican president, this thing was going on. The Republicans started this. And it could have been John McCain. It could have been some of the Bush family. Lord willing, we'll find. Somebody knows because they're going to trace them. They're going to trace it. They're going to trace the money. Somebody paid for this thing in the Republican Party. All right. So part of the swamp is the Republican Party, right? You know that already. All right. The bombshell revelation that Hillary Clinton's campaign and the Democratic National Committee helped fund the controversial anti-Trump dossier last year has lawmakers and the media asking tough questions about how the document was used by the highest levels of U.S. law enforcement and why the Democrats lied about its origins. In the midst of a court case that threatened to reveal the dossier's funding, it emerged overnight that political consulting firm Fusion GPS was retained last year by Mark Elias, an attorney representing the DNC and the Clinton campaign. Now, he didn't do this on his own. He did this at their bidding. The firm then hired former British intelligence officer Christopher Steele, that's another name that's being floated around, to write the now infamous dossier. They paid him to write this thing, and it's all a big lie. Not only did the Washington Post first reported on the connections, which were confirmed by Fox News, not only did the Clinton campaign and the DNC fund the firm through the end of October, but the FBI reportedly arranged to pay Steele to proceed. The FBI, under Comey, arranged, after John McCain gave them this thing, arranged to pay Steele to proceed with intelligence gathering on Donald Trump and Russia after Trump's election. The deal was later nixed after the former intelligence officer was identified in news reports. The FBI dropped it and quit paying him. And it's because of this that all this stuff, the special counsel is going on with Mueller, all that came because of this fake thing here. This is huge. All right, House Oversight Committee Trey Gowdy said Wednesday this is the biggest, that his biggest questions concern to what extent the FBI relied on that document to launch its Russian probe. You can read that for yourself. There's a whole lot more there. Couple others here I'll share with you. U.S. Ambassador. Oh, all right. That's something. That's another story that I put. Nikki Haley was evacuated from a camp in South Sudan, Africa. Lord, pray for her. That could have been bad, but they've evacuated her for something going on there. FEC complaint accuses, now this just happened today, the FEC complaint accuses Clinton campaign and the DNC of violating campaign finance law with dossier payments. In other words, they didn't disclose what these payments were for. So that's what's going on, my friend, in your government and in your country today. This is serious stuff, and there needs to be serious investigations going on, and they need to quit with this nonsense, and they need to and by the way, they're calling for the resignation of Mr. Mueller because he was in the FBI, the head of it, when all this was going on, and the uranium and all that. He needs to step down. So we'll see what's going to happen with all of this. It's just a matter of look. Get it out there. Share these stories. Share these news things that you see. Share it with your friends and get it out there, because Lord knows they have used this to try to destroy the conservatives and try to destroy Trump and to hide the lies and all this junk going on. So get it out there if you can. And this is the God's Final Jubilee program. I'm your host, Evangelist Dan Goodwin. And the website, godsfinaljubilee.com. You can get my schedule there. You can click on, you can get to my YouTube channel there, my Facebook page. Everything is there, the bookstore. It's been good being with you tonight, and pray for your country and pray that, that justice is served.